Sanyo now.
Welcome to the deep dive. Our job here is to really cut through the noise and bring you the core stories from the Seoul Economic Daily's front page, making them easy to understand. And today, wow, we have got a really packed and frankly quite conflicting set of headlines. We're diving into four big themes. First, this kind of strange temporary truce between the US and China. Then, almost immediately after, a huge shift in security policy, the U.S. giving the green light for South Korea's nuclear submarines. We'll also cover the HBM memory market, a real chicken game kicking off between Samsung and SK Hynix, and finally, a major leadership reshuffle at the SK Group. It's a very busy day for strategic moves. Let's jump right in.
It really is striking, isn't it? The contrast. You got these two superpowers, managing a trade ceasefire, and then literally hours later, the U.S. approves a strategic capability for its ally that Beijing absolutely hates. It's textbook cognitive dissonance in global politics. Okay, let's start with that ceasefire, that temporary detente. A 1-hour, 40-minute meeting, Trump and Xi over in Busan. What actually came out of it? What were the concrete agreements?
Well, they agreed on some very specific sort of transactional things to lower the temperature. The U.S., for its part, cut tariffs on Chinese fentanyl, dropped them 10 percentage points from 20% down to 10%. So the overall tariff rate on Chinese goods is now, 47%? It was a specific concession clearly aimed at the U.S. opioid crisis. Bit of a diplomatic win for Beijing there.
Right. And what did the U.S. get in return? Something tangible for their economy?
China agreed to suspend its rare earth export controls for a year. That's huge for global manufacturing, as you know. Access to rare earths is critical. So China pausing the weaponization of that resource, even temporarily, is a big deal for U.S. supply chains. And crucially, they also promised immediate, large-scale buys of U.S. farm goods, specifically 12 million tons of soybeans by January.
12 million tons by January, that's fast.
Very fast. It signals they want to move quickly. Some officials are even suggesting a broader trade deal could be signed, maybe as early as next week.
Okay, so movement on trade friction, but what about the elephant in the room, the technology war, semiconductors?
Well, Trump was very clear on that. He said they discussed general chip supply, yes, as part of trade, but he explicitly stated NVIDIA's top-tier AI chip, the Blackwell, that was kept completely off the table, not discussed.
And just remind us, why is Blackwell so significant? Why draw the line there?
The Blackwell chip is basically the absolute cutting edge for AI right now. It's what powers the next generation of AI models, the big data centers. So by keeping it out of the discussion, the U.S. is sending a clear signal. Okay, we can manage general trade, but strategic tech dominance, that's non-negotiable. It shows the detent is really just about managing the immediate economic fallout, not ending the deeper tech competition. Oh, and they also mutually suspended port entry fees, a small thing maybe, but helps smooth out logistics. And Xinhua reported she emphasized ending retaliation and seeking cooperation elsewhere, like on AI safety and pandemics.
So a managed trade situation. But then, almost immediately, the story takes this massive turn. Within 24 hours, Trump approved South Korea building nuclear-powered submarines, SSNs, that's a historic shift, right? And directly challenges China. How did that happen so quickly?
The speed is incredible. It really shows how the strategic thinking has shifted. Trump announced it on Truth Social. And this came less than a day after President Lee proposed needing U.S. help with nuclear fuel supply. It completely overturns decades of U.S. policy, going back to the Kim Young-sam administration. They've always said no before.
And why is it always no? What's the inherent risk with an SSN that isn't, say, a conventionally powered sub?
It boils down to the fuel. An SSN attack sub doesn't carry nukes like a missile sub and SSBN, but its reactor, its propulsion system, typically uses high-enriched uranium, HEU, and HEU is the same fickle material you need for nuclear weapons. So the worry has always been proliferation. Giving a country HEU technology, even just for subs, gives them know-how that's a big step toward potential weaponization down the line. That's why the U.S. was hesitant for so long.
That's a huge strategic leap then, not just selling equipment. So what changed? What was the trade-off for the U.S. to finally agree?
Professor Kim Dong-jung's analysis seems spot on here. He argues the key was President Lee's very clear, very public commitment to actively join the U.S. strategy of containing China. The Jungkook-yanje. That commitment basically solidified South Korea's position as a critical U.S. strategic partner in the region, making the security benefits seem worth the proliferation risk, at least to this administration.
So the detente we just talked about suddenly looks, well, paper thin.
Pretty much. The U.S. offers China a temporary economic breather with one hand, and with the other delivers a major strategic upgrade to its key regional ally, something China vehemently opposes.
It's a very clear message about priorities.
Exactly. Economic management is one thing, strategic alignment is another. And interestingly, these subs are set to be built at the Philadelphia shipyard, which is owned by Hanwha, the Korean company. Trump highlighted this as boosting U.S. shipbuilding. It ties the defense industries together quite tightly.
Creates a lock-in, benefits both sides. Smart. What's the timeline for these subs, and what does it mean for nuclear agreements?
Well, this approval should speed things up. Deployment is expected around the mid-2030s, and critically, it means they'll need to renegotiate the existing nuclear cooperation agreement. South Korea will definitely push for independent rights now to enrich uranium and reprocess plutonium. As you'd expect, China reacted immediately, put out a statement urging the U.S. and ROK to fulfill their non-proliferation obligations. So yeah, tensions are definitely not going away.
Okay, let's switch gears from geopolitics to the tech battleground, the AI memory market. Samsung's finally made a big move in high bandwidth memory, HBM. Analysts are calling it an HBM chicken game against SK Hynix.
Right, this is a huge deal financially. SK Hynix has really owned the HBM market, especially supplying NVIDIA. They had something like 60% market share. Samsung was lagging, maybe around 20%. The challenge was always the complex manufacturing, stacking those memory chips vertically.
And Samsung's breakthrough is
They've confirmed mass production and, crucially, sales of their 5th-gen HBM, specifically the HBM3E12 stack version. Instead of a flat chip, HBM stacks multiple layers 12, in this case connected by tiny vertical wires. Massively increases data bandwidth for AI. By confirming sales to all customers, which everyone understands mean they finally passed NVIDIA's tough quality checks, Samsung has proven its tech after, almost 2 years of trying?
getting into NVIDIA's supply chain. That's the key, isn't it? Since NVIDIA dominates the AI accelerator market. So how hard is Samsung pushing now?
Oh, they're signaling all-out competition. They confirm demand is strong, and they're already prepping for the next generation, HBM4. Plus, they're massively expanding capacity for their advanced DRAM, the 1C, the 10-nanometer 6th-gen stuff. It looks like they intend to really flood the market.
So when people say chicken game, what exactly does that mean in this context? What are the risks?
It means both are racing towards each other, investing huge sums in HBM capacity. Neither wants to swerve or cut back investment for fear of losing share. But the risk is, what if they both overinvest? If demand hiccups even slightly? Or if they build too much capacity combined? They could crash the price of HBM. That would really hurt the high profit margins SK Hynix has been enjoying.
So Samsung's using its massive financial muscle, betting it can withstand a price war better than SK Hynix, perhaps.
That seems to be the strategy. Just getting into the NVIDIA supply chain alongside AMD and Broadcom is expected to lift Samsung's HBM share by over 5 percentage points next year alone. And remember, Samsung's coming off a fantastic third quarter, record revenue, something like 86 trillion won, operating profit up over 30%, mostly thanks to semiconductors making a huge 7 trillion won profit. They have the cash to fight this battle.
Okay, one last piece before we wrap. The SK Group's leadership changes. You mentioned a focus on field-oriented leaders. What was significant about this reshuffle?
Yeah, it wasn't just routine. It seemed very focused on putting agile leaders in key spots. The top promotion went to Hyun-Hee Lee, moving up to vice chairman. He used to head the SUPEX Council's communication committee, so an experienced hand joining the very top ranks.
And the appointment at SK Telecom, that caught some attention, right? A former judge taking the CEO role.
Yes, Jae Hee-Hyun-Young. He was chief governance officer, has a legal background. That move seems directly linked to that big subscriber data hack SK Telecom had recently. Putting a governance expert, a former judge, in charge signals a really strong focus on rebuilding trust, tightening security, and prioritizing risk management above everything else right now. It's a stability play.
Makes sense. Less about telecom expertise, more about corporate integrity. What about the younger leaders being promoted?
Definitely a trend there. Promoting executives in their early to mid-50s, like Kang Dong-soo at SK Holdings, Youngwook Lee moving to SK On. The idea seems to be twofold. Get leaders close to the ground who can react quickly to issues, and also build up that next generation of management talent for the long haul. SK seems to be preparing for more volatility by empowering faster decisions.
Wow. Okay, so from a fragile U.S.-China truce to our nuclear subs changing the game, then Samsung challenging SK Hynix head-on, and SK Group reshuffling for agility. That is quite a day of strategic shifts across the board. Qualcomm, Kachang Yanches, HBM, Hosbihem, Arcelor, Dakin, Kenzamin, Kanshimius, Qualcomm.
Kofamid.
Oh, good. Like, actually, no, we kind of.